Salut everyone, Airmax here. This video is part of the series of videos I made about optimizing, installing CachyOS. Right now, we're gonna be talking about the kernel, like the famous CachyOS kernel. And as you certainly notice, it's a little bit complex at the beginning where you jump into this world of like custom kernel. And the purpose of this video is gonna be really to help you to find your way in all those options. Let's get into it. As always, let's start with a little bit of context. And the first thing I want to get out of the way right off the bat is that even if you are not running CachyOS, there is a high chance you're going to find a way to install this kernel on your favorite distro. So if you go on the GitHub of the CachyOS kernel, you're going to see that it's actually available for Gentoo. It's available for Fedora. I tried it multiple times. There is a specific COPR page where you can download it. All the instructions are there. It's pretty straight to the point. And there is also a support for NixOS. So if you are on those free distro and derivative, it will be really easy for you to switch kernel to CachyOS. And this is getting out of the way right off the bat. And obviously, like the rest of the video might also interest you. Another point which is super important is to understand that the default kernel on CachyOS is the best to date if you have a simple usage of your machine. We will get into it later in the video and you will see why I'm saying that. But let's say you just install CachyOS, you're browsing, you're gaming, you are not doing like crazy multitasking application, or you are not using pre-compiled, optimized over application on your machine, and you're just having like, I would say like a basic usage of your machine, please let me tell you that this default kernel is already optimized and ready to go for most of the tasks I mentioned earlier. So on paper, you don't need to do anything. You have nothing to do. I want to be clear, because sometimes, you know, you could be like, hey, maybe I'm missing out or whatever. You are not missing out. You are using the best. And the way it works is like the team, if you go on their Discord, the community and the team of CachyOS is always checking the latest feature and including them in the default kernel. You will have to switch to overscheduler, over feature. We'll talk about it later, only in specific case scenario, or if you want to really push it to the max depending on your hardware. I get that out of the way. If you are running Cachy right now and you're having this question, be like, oh, I'm missing out. No, you don't. Okay, like, let's be clear. You are not missing out. So obviously, if you don't want to watch the rest of the video, give the thumbs up, put a little comment. It helps the algorithm. And let's play the video like that. It helps on my watching time. But honestly, like everything I'm going to say after this point is really optional and for the real like tweaker or people who are really in need of specific feature, and you will see some of them are actually pretty cool. Before we get into the tweaking, let me show you real quick what the kernel is all about. So the features are actually awesome. So if you are using CachyOS, you will have the choice of the already like pre-compiled, pre-optimized kernel depending on your CPU. They propose a V4, V3, and normal x86 64 version of the kernel. So that means that they are all ready to go depending on your CPU. Now they have specific GCC and Clang optimization. You also have the opportunity to use their LTO version, which is pretty cool. Most of those options are actually optimized, but really you have all those options there you can use. So you have the advanced building and compiling. You have also the CPU enhancement. So you have those free schedulers there, and we'll get deeper into that after. You already have all the latest feature for your AMD CPU. You have the special Cachy sauce, which enable various tricks for the scheduler and other settings. Those ones are really important too, like if you are using ZFS on your machine, or if you are using CachyOS in a server setting and having a lot of, you know, ZFS tank, well, guess what? You're going to be able to use this kernel, which is pretty dope if you ask me. You have the NVIDIA module, You have all the latest and improved like compression patch set with the STD. You have like everything when you come to file system and memory. For the network, same thing. Like this is actually pretty cool. The BBRv3 TCP congestion control. So everything is there to have like a fully loaded kernel. So other feature for the lover of Clear Linux, you have a partial Clear Linux patch set, because I know like for the reader of Phoronix, Clear Linux is always on the top of the chart, but guess what? You're gonna have same type of performance with this kernel there. You will also get all the backport patch from Linux Next. So what it means that if some really good patch come from the RC version of the kernel, well, Peter and his team are going to look into them and they are going to bring them to the actual version of the actual kernel on CachyOS, which is pretty good. So let me give you an example. You're on 6.10 right now. There is some type of regression, which is corrected in 6.11 RC version, so not even release version, like the release candidate. Well, guess what? It's gonna take the patch, put it back in the 6.10, and now you are running like a boss. So this is pretty good. Now you have also everything related to the OpenRGB and ACS override support. Again, like, I don't want to get too deep into that, but for the gamer, sometimes you have to patch the kernel to make sure that some of those modules are loaded into it and you have the right permission for OpenRGB to have access to some part of the motherboard, etc., etc. Everything is set up for you. Same for the Steam Deck patches, because CachyOS does support the handheld. They have a specific handheld version. They have the AGR support, the V4L2 loopback module as default included. This could be a big problem. I'm thinking about all the Debian lovers out there. Like if you try to get the backport kernel, for example, you're gonna get logs there, etc., etc. So everything is set up for you to have the best optimization. Here you have NT-Sync too, and also the VRR fixes for AMD GPU. So you get it. In my opinion, this is one of the best, if not the best kernel out there. At the same level, there is only one kernel, and this is the CachyOS one. The other one, they are great. I already made a video about my approach when it comes to kernel in general, but we are at the tip top of the mountain. This is la crème de la crème in terms of kernel. Now, when it comes to choice, you're going to see that you have a lot of scheduler. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. Just go with the default. If you have no idea what you are doing there, or if you are not into like a testing phase or anything else, stick with the default. So the default kernel uses the board scheduler and the Sched EXT BPF extensible scheduler. So we'll talk about it after, because you will see this is pretty awesome what Sched EXT can do. But when it comes to kernel, really, I would say like the big choice will be to choose between the default CachyOS or the LTO one. Personally, I use the LTO one because there is some type of application that might benefit from it, because some of the applications on the repository from CachyOS are actually compiled with LTO activated, so you might have some type of improvement in terms of performance when getting in that direction. Don't expect like a 30-40% plus type of performance boost, but it's a little plus, and that will be my recommendation there. And for the other one, going through like the full board, the full EVDF, or the full eco, those are schedulers which are still like being worked on as I'm talking right now. And obviously, if today board is the best in terms of performance, tomorrow it might be another one like Echo, which seems super promising, or even like Sched EXT. We'll talk about it again, but like you understand my idea there. Let's just set the default there, go with the flow. If you want to go further and try them, it's relatively easy, and I'm going to show it to you later in the video how you can do that. But honestly, just stick with the default. I think I've said that like 7 times now. Now, what is Sched EXT? This is the future of scheduler in general, and you will understand why. I believe it was supposed to be pushed in the kernel 6.11, but Linus Torvald was not really happy about it and the way it was implemented, so they postponed it. maybe 6.12, maybe 6.13. But the good news is like on CachyOS, you can already use it since I think like 6.8 or 6.7. Like it has been a long time that Sched EXT is already implemented in this kernel. And so what is really Sched EXT? And what is really good is like you can dynamically switch the scheduler at a user level. Sometimes a video is better than a long speech. If you look at this quick video, you're going to see this gentleman is actually compiling a kernel while running Terraria. So at the bottom left, you're going to have the FPS. And you can see his PC is struggling to run both at the same time, running the default scheduler. And now, easy switch is going to be switching to the SCX-Rusland scheduler live. And right now, you're going to see his FPS are going to go way higher. He's running around like 60, 50 FPS. Like it's around like the 60 FPS mark. And now the game is totally playable. So what he did switch live while compiling the actual scheduler of his kernel. So let me get it straight. A lot of like big companies right now are using this new feature. And when I'm talking about big company, I'm thinking about Google, Facebook, like all the big tech companies are behind this scheduler because it can do a lot of legwork. Now, as I mentioned earlier, you can see here on the CachyOS kernel repo how to install the SCX-Sched package there, and then what type of scheduler you're gonna have access to. It's pretty easy to activate. Once you install the package, you just have to type like this command, sudo space SCX- name of the scheduler, and you have all the scheduler right now, and boom, you are in. So this is a terminal like way of doing things. I'm pretty fan of it. But there is also a GUI, we'll talk about it later. The idea is that by just typing this command, you're going to switch from one scheduler to the other in the user space, and you're going to have some type of result depending on the task you are running, and also depending on your hardware. So now the question at $1 million, like why Air Max are you not doing a full benchmark of all of this while gaming? And my answer is simple. It's just not worth it for a video. And it's not worth it because my results are going to be totally different from your result because we might not have the same hardware. To give you an example, this LAVD is actually performing really well right now in gaming. I know it for fact because a lot of users on the Discord of CachyOS have been talking about it. However, it's only giving you more performance in specific hardware scenario. So if you have a 5950X, for example, which is a CPU with a single NUMA but 2 CCX, this scheduler is going to be not performing the best in game. However, if you have a single CCX type of CPU, so let's say you have a 7800X3D, this one might give you a little bit more boost in terms of performance. And this is the whole point, right? My result might not be aligned with yours. But what I would say is that if you are ready into that, just launch a game like Valheim, Alt-Tab, start a terminal session, and start to switch between each of them to see what type of result you're gonna have. Now, if you go on the CachyOS wiki, you're going to see a different use case for each scheduler. So for example here, for the scheduler Rusty here, you have use cases, gaming, latency sensitive workload, desktop usage, latency sensitive workload. Like you have like all, it's written twice actually, I'm going to have to tell them. But you get the idea, right? Then you have the LAVG, the one I was mentioning earlier, with what they can bring to the table here, the BPF land, and you have like some type of feedback. What is really important though is like if you find one which is actually awesome, what you should do is activate the systemd service for the specific scheduler. Like that, you don't have to type the command anymore, and it will still be on right off the bat, and it will be done. I'm gonna put the link to this little tutorial there for you to do it. It's really nothing, but you get the idea there. Make your own tests, try all of them, knowing that it's gonna change in the future. Me personally, for my usage, I would say just stay with the basic one. However, let's say you are working as a programmer and you need to compile all day and you want to do something else while your computer is compiling kernel, for example. Well, guess what? You just selection one of those schedulers, which will give you the opportunity to continue to play your game really smoothly while compiling in the background, like simple as that. Now, last but not least, if you are into compiling kernel, CachyOS provide a package called CachyOS Kernel Manager, which is installed by default, but you can still install it using their repo. Here, it's installed on my machine, CachyOS Kernel Manager. I'm gonna start it and we're gonna get into it a little bit because this piece of software is actually really, really nice. I don't know if you saw my video about the Linux TKG compilation, but this little GUI is going to give you exactly the same type of like in-depth ability when it comes to custom compile your kernel. The first thing I want to say is that this little interface is going to give you the opportunity to choose whatever kernel you want easily instead of going through the terminal. And for example, let's say I want to install the CachyOS v3 because my CPU is actually a v3 CPU there, eco with the LTO optimization. I'm just gonna have to click here and execute. And what it's going to do, it's going to execute a terminal with the right commands for installing the kernel and also its dependency. So I use the NVIDIA card, so it's gonna have to install the header and also the specific module for my NVIDIA driver. So I'm gonna tap my password and boom, you can see the kernel, the header, and the module for my graphic card. So I'm not going to install it, but it's pretty straight to the point, and it's easier than you having to search with your package helper or Pacman the right package there. Now, when it comes to compilation, as I mentioned just before, you can click on the configure button here, and this is going to open a specific, what they call like kernel manager. And this one is really nice because you can compile whatever type of kernel you want with all the options you want. Now you decide the name of the kernel, and then you decide if you want the CachyOS config here. I won't go through all the options there because if you are there, you know what you are doing. Again, if you don't know what you are doing, please just stay with the default browser. If you know what you are doing, you exactly know where we are going there. You have all the different options you can find in the TKG like config script, for example, but it's behind a nice GUI, which is nice. And also, if you want to add patches manually, you have this option here to add a remote patch, something you can find on GitHub, for example, or a local patch, a file you downloaded or something you created yourself, which I think is really nice. When you launch, like build the kernel, it's going to build it and then install it on your machine. I do believe this is a really dope approach for the people who want to stay in the CachyOS world, you know, not having to do everything manually, and also wanting to do all of this in a terminal. Really good job. And now, what I also mentioned earlier is that you have a little option here to play with the Sched EXT scheduler config. And as you notice here, and I mentioned, like mine is not activated, but you can do it from here. So you could choose whatever scheduler you want. For example, we're gonna go with BPF land. I'm gonna go into like super gaming approach. I'm gonna click apply. I'm gonna put my password and boom, it's on. Simple as that, guys. So you can test here all the different Sched EXT scheduler as simple as that on this distro. This is just awesome. Again, like guys, you understand, like I really love this distro. That's why I'm making all those tutorials. I think they really simplify everything to a point where you can have fun without being an IT professional, which I believe is great. So I'm going to disable it here like that. easy peasy, and boom, it's disabled. Guys, I really hope this video helped you to understand how to take advantage of the CachyOS kernel, whether you are using it on the CachyOS distro or another distro. Obviously, if you want to know more about CachyOS in general, I made this series of video. Please go watch them if you are interested to install this distribution, optimize it, also set it up for gaming. The next video I'm gonna be pushing is gonna be around setting up CachyOS for content creation. So a lot more of information coming. Guys, thank you very much for watching the video. As always, I want to particularly thank all the financial supporters on this channel, whether they are using the YouTube membership, the Patreon, or the direct donation. Guys, you are the best. You are like crème de la crème club. Thanks again. We will see you in another video. And yeah, that's all for today. Thanks again for watching. And as always, bisous bisous.